Hi, everybody. My name is Mitch Milam. I am an independent dynamics consultant on the Power Platform. Today, we are going to cover the art and science of model-driven app design. So we've got 458 slides to go through in about 20 minutes, so everybody hold on to your horses. So reach me via email or on Twitter, on LinkedIn. All of my videos or webinars or whatever it might be are put up on my YouTube channel. Subscribe, and then there's a little bell right beside the subscribe button that will actually send you an email anytime anything is put up. So this will be up later today or first thing tomorrow, depending on how long it takes to render and to get up there. So let's get right into this. So is it an art or is it a science to design a model-driven application? When I say model-driven, I'm talking about either Power Platform, pure CDS, model-driven, or Dynamics 365. I think the real answer to what I've always seen is it's some of both. So there is science to it. So, you need to listen to people, but there's an art of putting things together where it flows good and it looks good and it feels good to the user, because all of these things make the user more productive. And as I've said before, it's all about the user. Okay. So before we start, a couple of tools and resources. Ribbon Workbench, we'll talk about using that to modify the ribbon. Snapshots, my documentation tool. In my the webinar that we covered, the eliminating technical debt, we talked about the attribute usage inspector to take a look at fields that may or may not be used should you choose to rearrange your forms based on the current data profile within your database. I have two webinars that are up on my YouTube channel now. The first is Eliminating Technical Debt. The second is from last week, which was Join the PCF Revolution, where we talked about using PCF controls to enhance the user experience. So if you haven't seen those, go out and watch those. They've got some pretty good information in there. The other thing to think about is, as I'm sure everybody knows by now, we have two release cycles a year, spring and fall, and we've already started into the spring release. So new features start trickling in that will either enhance, complicate, or complain with your design. So always keep that in mind. Like the new feature for forecasting looks fascinating. I haven't had time to dig into it that much, but that is a feature that, we may have actually spent, weeks or days or months creating Power BI to do the same thing that we now have out of the box. So is that going to replace a feature that you have? Being in the ISV community for so long, you always kind of keep in the back of your mind that, hey, there is a reason that we're producing a solution right now, but we are one meeting away from somebody at Microsoft saying, we need to add this to our product. And then you're out of a company or you're out of a solution, or now you got to change things. And the way that we've typically done it, we being consultants that I've worked with and customers and things, as we develop solutions that are later built into the product, we will eliminate our solution in favor of the out of the box. That may or may not be common sense to a lot of people, but the less code you have to maintain or the less solution assets you have to maintain, the better I think everybody is. That's just my opinion. Okay, so let's talk about the technical aspects. So we're going to start from the very top and work all the way down to the very bottom. So the very top layer is an app. So here is the app launcher that you see whenever a user starts up Dynamics, and basically these are the ones that come with this customer service, resource scheduling, sales hub, etc. You create your own if you want. So the question is, do I modify, say, Sales Hub, since I have a sales organization, or do I create my own app? So that's the first thing you have to think about. Because remember, anytime you create your own app, that is a maintenance point for you to maintain that thing going forward. The second thing to remember is, pretty much the legacy web app is going away sooner rather than later. I think mine is supposed to hit it already hit this week, or it's hitting Tuesday. I can't remember. But by October they want the legacy gone. So we're only dealing with UCI now. So we've got a little bit of time to kind of fix things for everybody. Device platform. So the platform that the users use is going to kind of alter your perspective on creating solutions. So if you have a remote tablet-based user base, that's going to change things rather than just being at their desk all the time. So maybe it's a thing where The desktop users have one app and the mobile users have a different app. And again, it's really dependent on your maintainability. So the idea in my mind, again, everything that, I should have probably started with this, everything that you're going to hear me say today is absolutely personal opinion, okay, based on my experience, and yours will vary. So keep that in mind. So everything I say is going to have a little caveat like that, because it's going to depend on everything in the world, and from the data that you're using to the industry the customer's in to whatever it might be, okay? So when do you use an app? Well, for most people, like the last place I was doing work, they were just a sales organization. We had basically lead and opportunity, account and contact. We're kind of on the back end just doing stuff, holding data for us. But realistically, we never left. They had their own app, but in all honesty, it was just a restricted version of the Sales Hub. Okay, and we're perfectly fine. So the question, in fact, we actually had two apps, and I come to find out, I'm like, why do we have two apps? Oh, we use this other thing. You mean this other thing that's on this other thing you can get to, where we only have to have one app to maintain? Yes, that one. So do we need more than one? Because again, anytime you have more than one app, you're going to at least double your maintenance. Even if it's just making sure that we have the specific forms and views and dashboards and whatever it might be associated with the app, it's still going to be a maintenance point that you have to consider. Okay, so keep that in mind. Visibility is set by security roles, so you can assign the security roles to the app so only certain people see them. And one of the things that I kind of just mentioned, instead of having an entire app, we can have sitemap areas, which I'll cover in just a second, which are kind of like sub apps. So it's a way of kind of restricting certain things. So maybe we just have one app, but everybody uses different areas within that app to do their job. So you would have sales on one tab, marketing on another, and then customer service on another. That would be one way to do it. So again, security roles are managed by going into my apps and then clicking the little ellipsis button and clicking manage roles, and you can assign which security roles see the app. That's how you hide or show it from people. The sitemap is different now that we have the navigation back on the left-hand side. So keep that in mind. So here is a typical Sales Hub sitemap. It's not everything. It's just the top part. So the areas that we have are noted at the bottom. So this is the sales area. Then there are groups, my work, customer, sales, and then the sub areas are like leads, contacts, etc. Those are ones that actually do work. So this is what it looks like in the designer. So we design it horizontally and then it shows up vertically. And that is mostly because this is the interface we had from 2013 until recently. Okay. So again, areas are the big groupings, groups are the ones in blue, and then sub areas are the ones that actually do the work. So here's an example of the sales area, and then on the left-hand side, that's how it's designed, and on the right-hand side, this is how it actually looks, in case you've never been in that. Okay, and you just add and remove things as necessary. Most things on our sitemap are actually controlled by security. So in a great deal of this stuff, you don't have to do anything at all. What you do is you assign a security role to a user and then assign privileges to that role. And if you don't have minimum of read access to an entity, it won't show up. And then you can actually specify specific security for certain things so that they show up or don't show up. And you can do that again all through the sitemap designer. So again, the areas that we have show up along the top in the designer, and then at the bottom on a pop-up for each of the actual areas you set. So again, this is what I was talking about. This is kind of like a sub application now. So this is the default for Sales Hub on on an org that does not have the Spring bits, the preview turned on. Otherwise, we would have some other settings in here. Okay. By a show of hands, which is on your little dashboard thing, how many people have ever changed or actually changed the theme of their Dynamics installation? A few. Okay, Great. So this is one way to personalize it, and this is back when I was at Microsoft doing demos. This is the first thing we did is we put the icon up there, make it look like the customer, the logo. I'm sorry, not icon, logo, and then we would change the colors to make it a little bit more branded toward whatever we're working on. So that could be your customer, if you're a consultant, or your organization. So hey, we're going to put our icon up there, our logo up there, and we're going to change the colors to make it look like our colors. Very good. And then basically you can do the changes here. Now, this is not the best experience in the world because you have to type the number in. Because there's no color picker built in for some reason, not sure why, and this is not editable. This would be a perfect place to apply the new PCF control that's up on PCF Gallery that lets you do a color picker, but we can't edit the theme. It's a non-customizable entity. I've got an idea for a workaround on that I'm thinking about this weekend. I'll let you know more about that later. But anyway, so the idea here is you select your colors and you have different elements, and that's kind of how it works out. One thing I would advise, if you have multiple environments, say you've got a dev and a staging QA and then a production, I would make the navigation top bar color different on every one. Now that may sound like a silly thing to do, but it really helps if you are in a hurry and you're always have one or more, multiple environments open, and you accidentally start changing things in production when you shouldn't be changing things in production. Okay, sounds kind of silly, but again, happens all the time. So just make you, so your production is the branded company theme, and then the other two can be whatever you want. Okay, dashboards. So we have built-in dashboards, we have 100% Power BI dashboards, and we have a hybrid dashboard that consists of um, both built-in charts and graphs, and then tiles from a Power BI dashboard. I'm not sure you guys have ever got into that, but you can include the whole dashboard or just pieces of the dashboard, depending on how you have it designed. And again, if you guys haven't done Power BI, it's something to really look into. As we go further and further into the the future with the integration between all the Microsoft apps, they're building more and more things in Power BI, and they just magically show up inside of the Power Platform. So, but you can, get ahead of the curve and start working with yourself. So views, okay. This seems like a really simple thing, but people overcomplicate this more than anything I've ever seen. Like I said, at my last place, we had 116 views on Opportunity. We actually took all of them out besides like 3, and nobody said anything at all. And all it was and these were system views. These were not personal views. These were system views because at one point everybody had system admin access, so anybody could go in and do anything they wanted. I talked about that in the Eliminating Technical Debt webinar. But anyway, so what is the user trying to do? Okay. A common set that I do for customers is on the account. I have customers, partners, vendors, whatever the relationship type is that is used fairly frequently. I will actually create a system view for that data type, and the data within that is specific to that type of data. Okay. If you can, again, doesn't always work, but if you can, try to get everything to fit on one page width-wise, because the moment the user has to start scrolling left and right, they lose productivity. And remember, the thing is, we may not need all of the data, we just need enough data to do the job. So again, that's part of the working with the user to figure out what they really need and what they really makes them productive. Okay, forms is where you're going to spend a majority of your time, and this is the one that you need to just buckle in for, because this can be a lot of work, and no way around it. It just has to be done. So here is a typical out of the box account form. Again, pre-spring release preview. So lots of things we can cover. And actually what I'm going to do later on is I'm actually going to go and redesign this form the way I would like to see it. And you guys can hang out if you want to. So 5 components to the form. We have a header and a footer. We have tabs. Tabs contain sections. Sections contain fields. And then we have the related relationships that are on the what looks like a tab at the very top. So there is a lot of school of thoughts all over the place about how exactly to design a form. You know, opinions are like heads. Everybody has one. Some people have two opinions. Some people have opinions that get into arguments with themselves, but that's a different story. So what the main thing is show the user what they need to see when they need to see it. Now, what that means in just common terms is I've got a brand new opportunity or a brand new lead. I need to see X pieces of information and the rest of it's totally irrelevant because at the stage it's in, I don't need to see it. It just complicates the thing. So what you can do is one method is based on the business process flows that you set up. If you're not on, say, the second stage of a business process flow, all the tabs besides the summary are hidden. Or what you can do is you can align the tabs and the business process flow stages so that you know that they're kind of tied together. That's an option as well. And as you progress through the relationship with the person or the company or whatever it might be, you show more and more data only when the person needs it. So for instance, one of them we did, it was, do they have a garage code? It was real estate. Do they have a garage code? Yes or no? If the answer was no, then that was just a question. If the answer was yes, then two other fields asking specific information would appear. And that way, if the answer was no, we didn't worry about it. The user didn't see it, was no longer concerned, because people are weird. And one of the things that freaks people out is that they see a data entry field, they think they have to put something in it, whether or not they do or not. When they see it, like, oh, I got to fill this out. So if they don't need to see stuff, then don't do it. Okay. Like we had, so again, real estate, we had buyers and we had sellers. So we rearranged the user interface so they were in a buying state. We showed one set of fields, tabs, etc. If they were in a selling state, we did the opposite. So each person who opened up an opportunity, if it was a buying opportunity, it showed one set of things, and selling would show another set of things. And again, 100% tailored to that person and to that job, okay, and the state of the data. So the last thing here is complicated layouts decrease productivity. I have personally created forms that are 4 feet long because I had to have all this information, okay? Did they fill it out? No, but they had to have it, okay? So now is the time to fix some of that. With the new UCI layout, it's really easy to put things on tabs where you're kind of segmenting things out rather than having them one big long linear layout. So keep that in mind. One of the things we started doing, about a year or more ago, is the timeline is a ginormous piece of real estate on any form it's on. So what we started doing was actually moving it to its own tab. And then it would just stay there because it was more or less historical information that wasn't relevant to the person's job at that point in time. Now, that's not always the case, again, but I've done it several times and it actually had pretty good effect. The only caveat to that, if you start doing something like that, you need to do it everywhere so that the user interface is consistent. Okay, keep that in mind. Again, I like to try, if possible, to keep the tabs one page. So I don't like them to have to scroll. Now, that doesn't always work because you've got a lot of fields and whatever it might be, but just try. Again, like we talked about earlier, show tab, section, and fields only when they need it. Okay. We can show form and field notifications to let them know about things that are happening on the form. And then finally, one of the things that I've done pretty successfully for quite a while actually is what I mentioned earlier. We align the tabs in the business process flow stages so that, like for instance, if we are in whatever, like on the third stage, when that record gets opened, we look at the stage and then we set the focus tab to that data. So it's already there ready for them to open. That way it saves them a click. a minor thing for the user, but again, it adds up. You can use JavaScript to retrieve the security roles and use security roles to hide controls, tabs, sections, or fields. That works. And again, there's a lot of personal preferences here. So users, are again kind of weird about how they want to see things and don't see things and stuff like that. So you just kind of work through it. And the middle one here, number 3, this is the one that a lot of people just don't understand for some reason. People don't know what they want until they see it. And it's not going to come back as this is what we wanted. This is going to come back as, oh, I don't like that. And the problem is they're not going to know that they don't like that. So, again, we just have to do it. Clint says amen. Sam says, in the cases area, you found a good forms layout to view activities. No, not really, not on the cases. You just kind of have to play with it. And like I said, there's no right or wrong reason about how to lay the stuff out. It's just whatever the user's like. So what you do a lot of times is you take a basic idea and you do it, and then you show it to them. And then you fix it and you show it to them. And then you fix it and you show it to them until they quit answering questions. Okay. I know that's silly, but that's really how it happens. Okay. So, and again, they're not going to know it until they see it, because what's fascinating about what I just mentioned, what people do is they don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want. And they don't know what they don't want until you show it to them. And, oh, I don't want that. And then they'll come back and change their mind. Okay. That's why we get paid the big bucks, have the company car in the corner office. Everybody knows that, right? Okay. And then like this final thing I just kind of threw in there, the summary tab is a summary. Okay. What do we need to know about whatever record it is to give us an idea of what's going on? Put that on the summary tab, and that's it. Everything else goes somewhere else. So that's kind of one of the design features I've kind of come to. I'm not going to say this is minimalistic or anything like that, but I think it's getting close. Hang on one second. Okay. Okay. Now, the opposite of what I just mentioned is a trap that a lot of people get into, and it's bling versus functionality. Okay. Just because you can do a thing does not mean that you should do a thing. I've said this for years. Okay. The first one that is kind of funny is the map control. So you turn on Bing Maps and it shows up on the contact and the account. How many people, show me your hands, how many people actually use the map control? A few of you? Okay. More often than not, it's in the stuff that I work with, it's just a pretty piece of hardware. Okay, I got a map, great. Do they use it? No, they don't. So again, it looks good. There are very, very clear reasons to use it. But again, in most places, it's just a flashy piece of code. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Again, everything's different. Okay, RJ says we have it for billing, but people probably do not use it much. Yeah, that's kind of what I found. Oops. So let's talk about the command bar, ribbon, command bar, kind of mostly same thing now. So most of this is controlled through security role privileges. Okay. You can use the ribbon editor or ribbon workbench, I'm sorry, wrong word, ribbon workbench to make changes to this if necessary. Most common that I've done is I've moved things around a little bit, maybe change the label, and then sometimes add new buttons or hide things. A couple years ago, in fact, I have a webinar about this. Most of what I did was unhide things that people actually hid. Okay. Now, number 3 is red for a reason. Don't go crazy editing the ribbon. Remember, let the Dynamics application do its job. Okay. If you want something to not show up, take that ability away from the user. Give them a security role that does that. That will save you time and trouble in the future. Okay. I had a customer, and more or less, and I'm not exaggerating, open up the thing and it was like the new button, and I think new and a sign or something, or maybe new. That was it. And I'm like, where do all the buttons go? Well, he went to the ribbon workbench and hit all of them. And then what happened? We found a bug in it where you couldn't unhide them. So we literally had a situation where we had to wait for Microsoft to ship a fix because you couldn't create a solution file that unhid the hidden buttons because they had a bug. And so we literally had to wait to deploy it until he got it done. So just something to think about. Mark said he has issue with the flow button on the ribbon UI. It doesn't show on our on-demand workflow. No, Mark, I have not run into the issues with the flow button. In fact, I haven't even played with that, to be quite honest, lately. Sasha is, can we recover ribbon button out of the box commands, which were used to replace custom ones earlier? The basic answer is yes. You can use the ribbon workbench and go and theoretically delete the customization, and it will take it out and basically be it's not replaced by the original. It's just you've removed the customization. Okay. Now, again, what we ran into is that process didn't work. So there, and I tried literally for 2 or 3 hours one day trying to uncustomize the customizations, and it wasn't taking. And that's when I found out there was a bug. Okay. So again, use with caution. Okay, business process flows. Not everybody uses business process flows. And the reason that people don't use business process flows is because they have no process. I know that sounds really kind of weird to people, but yeah, they don't. It's almost impossible to document a process that does not exist, or does exist but is not documented. Either one of those is correct. So the real thing with business process flows is, do they have one? They being you, or if you're a consultant, the company. Is it followed consistently? If either one of these is no, then you've got a problem. As I've stated, you cannot throw technology at process issues. What you end up with is really fast, bad processes. Okay? So if they don't have a process or they don't do it consistently, and when I say they, I mean everybody has to do it the same way, or every, say, group maybe has to do it the same way. Will it make the users more efficient? Yes or no? Okay. Or will it make the data more consistent? That is a possibility. So there's two things here. We want the users to be more efficient, and we want the data to be more consistent. Those are not exactly mutually exclusive. But a lot of times the reason we put a BPF in is to make sure that the users complete the data required to move to the next stage of the operation. Okay, and again, everybody has to be on the same page with this. This is the one that causes the most angst with the companies. Okay, so I have a lot of customers that never use the BPF at all. Then I had last place, they used them. In fact, they used them so much, we actually had fields on the BPF that were not on the form because all of the data that they filled out was in the BPF because it told them where to go and what to do. And that was I was kind of shocked. That was actually more efficient than I expected it to be. Because I, in all honesty, been working with it for years. I'd never seen a company do exactly that, where the data wasn't on the form itself. So just something to consider. So implementation. So let's talk about testing. We do something, we test it, we do some more, and we test some more. And then we do that over and over again until we get it right. So what we were doing the last place was we had a kind of secondary or dev operation, and then a pre-dev, I'm not sure what you call it. We would take our changes and move them into our dev operation, and that way we could test it. One, we could test the deployment process to make sure it actually worked. And then two, we could test any integration that we might have screwed up accidentally by removing stuff we didn't need. So that was, and then once that was all verified, then we roll into production. Okay. So there's no way to skip this step. and it's going to be totally dependent on the methodology used by your company or the customer, depending if you're a consultant or not. Okay. Deployment. We have two major things here. We can do the iterative approach, or we can do waterfall, which is everything at once. So like what we did, we had lead went out first because lead's kind of standalone, but then opportunity, which was our next biggest, had to be rolled in with contact and account all at once because I had changes both in the user interface. There were some plugins and workflows behind the scenes, and so that had to be done as a package. So the changes that you make are going to be dependent on how you're rolling things out. So, and there's lots of schools of thought about that. Sometimes when you do it a little bit at a time, people get used to change, saying, hey, we're rolling this out every Thursday morning for the next 2 months. So every Thursday or every other Thursday, people know we've got a change coming. You document it, you do training videos if you can, you get them just used to seeing it. Okay. The other approach is they come in Monday morning and everything's different. Okay. Now I want everybody to sit down. If you're not already, I want you to think about this. Now, this is brand new information. I just learned this last night. Some people do not like change. I know it's weird, but it happens. Okay. So some people would love the iterative approach where things just pop up a little bit at a time and it's not that big deal and nothing happened, whatever. Otherwise the world is falling apart and oh my God, I got to go to lunch and have a martini at 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Okay. So you have all of those responses. So anyway, so again, it really depends. Like there's all kinds of schools of thought about what you can do with this. Again, sometimes the iterative approach is easier. Sometimes it's just better to rip the Band-Aid off all at once. Okay, and again, there's no formula for that. It's just going to happen or not happen. So every installation and customer will be different. So yeah. Okay. Okay, this should have been put up front. I apologize for not doing this. This will solve all your problems. Communication, communication, communication. Keep your users involved and keep them informed. Okay, again, small things make big differences in the world. Okay, so you have to have their involvement as you move forward through the change process. That has to be done. Okay, you cannot implement something without the users being involved. Okay, one, that is an excellent way to update your resume. Okay, two, be careful starting your car on the way home tonight. That's very simple. But really and truly, if you keep the users involved, they understand what you're doing, they have feedback, and you don't have to redo it over and over again after you deployed it into production. Okay, and just keep them informed. Like, hey, we're doing this. You got a weekly company meeting or whatever. Hey, we're rolling out lead on Thursday. Lead's gonna be new. Okay, give us a call if you got anything. Barbara has the videos will be up Wednesday night. Be ready to go. Okay, so again, keep them involved, keep them informed. Okay, so I think I had a question here. People don't like change. Okay, so let's go somewhere over here. Okay, so let's look at the account. Tell you what, hang on 1 second, people. I need to let the dog out. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so let's go rearrange this for a little bit. See what we can come up with. See what you guys think. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the classic form editor. And again, the reason I'm using this is because not everything is built into the new form editor. Okay, so like I said, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm going to move the timeline away. So I'm going to go and create me a new tab. And it's at the, I accidentally collapsed that. And then what I'm going to do, I am going to repeat attempt to move this. Sometimes it doesn't work right. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, I'm just going to move on. Oh, come on. Okay, let me try the whole section. And again, there we go. Good job. Perfect. Okay, now the timeline is on a different page. And then I want to delete this. And again, why I'm caveating this is because the summary pane has got some special something in it, and sometimes it doesn't like to be moved. So it gets upset and it won't work. So put in a section that working. So you end up with this really weird thing, like I've got a big gap here now and I can't fix it. Me. That's why I like doing live demos. Yeah, if that doesn't work, so I'm going to put that back where it was. We'll just live with it for right now. But the idea here is, oh, come on. Is you want that off of the main screen. Okay. I'm going to save that. Now, one of the things about this is I'm working on the account form, the main account form. So there's a couple schools of thought. One, before I started, I probably should have done a save as to save the form, okay, a copy of it. Now, what I have done in the past is I actually saved the form to a copy and then made that the new default. The problem I ran into is this thing right here. You see that file section? That's an update from Microsoft that, as clear as I can see, is programmatically inserted. Okay, and what that is a tab for documents, SharePoint documents. Okay, they only applied it to the main forms. They didn't apply it to all forms. So what happened was we were using a different form and all of a sudden it showed up over there and now not over here, and we're using here. So now what do we do? So maybe what has to happen, if that's going to be the case in the future, is we have to actually make a copy of a backup copy just for safety and then modify the original form. Maybe that works. Okay. I'm going to rename that timeline. And again, I've moved the timeline on account, so I need to move the timeline everywhere else too to make it consistent, because again, inconsistency breeds really bad effects on the users. Okay, now this is some stuff I covered last week. I'm going to change the control type for this to that. I'm only going to do a couple of these, but all of these I would do this to, just so it's a little bit easier to work with. Okay, that is, I'm going to flip switch. And then change this one too. And again, the whole reason we're doing this is to make it faster and easier for the user to complete the data. That's the whole idea. Okay. So another thing I would do on this one, create a new one, call them tab. Call that child accounts. Then I'm gonna grab this child accounts subgrid and put that in there. I'm gonna delete that section. Now, while we're talking about this, if you ever try to move a control between one section and another section and it doesn't work, it's because the section of format is different. It has to be the same. So maybe it's spanning 2 columns instead of 1 column, and you're going from 2 into 1, it won't work. So if you ever try to move stuff around and it doesn't work, then that's why. Okay. Entitlements, I don't care about. I could delete that if I wanted to. So let's save that and publish and go look see what we ended up with. There we go. Okay, besides the big rinse gap in the middle, we now have our timeline here. We have our child accounts here. So if you noticed how much real estate expanded into, makes it a little bit easier, makes your filtering a little bit better. Child accounts is there, details is there. So it's in market materials, contact me via email. This is one of the things I was talking about last week. We have more than 3 things here, so this won't work for this control, but this is how you would do it. And that's that. So like I said, I would change all of these strictly because they're just a little bit easier to see than that. So same functionality. What I do on this one here, and we don't have a business rule to do this, but what I would do is when this field is set to yes, I would display a form level notification that says that this account is on hold, so that's blatantly obvious to the user. Again, that's a JavaScript issue. You can't do it with business rules because that's not the way it works. Didn't have that capability, but that's what I would do. Payment terms, shipping. I don't ship anything. I'm going to delete that section there. What else? What I may also do, in all honesty, is actually we can just go do that. Let me talking about it. Okay, I'm going to kill that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here. I said I'm going to move that over there. I'm going to move this over here. Billing is more important than marketing. So one of the reasons I moved that around is because actually probably I think I may put that up there. That would have been better. Yeah. Let's try that real quick. So again, this is the art part of it. This is not, there's no science here at all. Okay. This is where you're just like playing with stuff and it's like, yeah, you know, that wasn't the way that didn't pop out the way that I thought it was going to. Happens all the time. Again, you don't know it till you see it. Oh, Giovanni, yeah, says he has annoyance with the formatter. You can't just say save and publish. I thought we used to have that. Okay. Glenn, you say double click on the tab to change the properties to 2 columns. Are you talking about that tab? Yeah, I really want. Hang on a second. I think I know what to do here. There. Okay, my formatting is 3 columns. I want it to be 2 columns, and that's probably going to screw that crap over there up. Yeah, it's not going to work. This Alan says the new form designer has a safe and publish. Yeah, I think it will. Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do, just for giggles. Sorry. No demo survives contact with reality. Good. Okay. Oops. Change this to 2 columns. Yes, I know it's going to blow everything up. And then that is dead. I'm going to put my assistant back over here. Oh, come on. Well, let's go ahead. It lasted. Yeah, like I said, the summary tab's always some kind of, I don't know what the deal is with it, to be quite honest. There's some kind of issue going on with it. I think a lot of times, and I'll see what I'll show you exactly how I fix this. So I want 2 column tab. Move that up, and then I'm just gonna rebuild everything. I think that's how I fixed it in the past. Yeah, that works. Okay, come on, you can do it. Come on. Oh. That's what I want. I know, painful, but it gets there. Okay, okay, now I don't need that. Get rid of summary. My timeline. Maybe that's what I've been doing to fix it. Yeah, summary. Save and publish. Okay, that's a little bit better. I think I did lose some stuff on this. I think that when I moved that, it got upset with me about something, because that's not how it used to display. I'll need to look at that. But anyway, so that's the idea. Again, like you can put contacts on a different tab, opportunities on a different tab, cases on a different tab, entitlements. We don't use entitlements. I'd kill that. And again, just put it all on one. If you don't use relationship assistant, take it off. Different things like that. So again, it really, really just depends on what you're doing. So what you could do is I literally put the address up here where relationship assistant. If you needed the map, put it underneath. Put the primary contact at the top, of course. Actually, the primary contact I would probably move over here. But anyway, so just an example of what you can do. It really depends on the situation. And it's just a lot of playing. It's like, okay, is this the most efficient layout for the users? And again, that's the whole thing there. Okay. Louis Salam says, one thing about form design, get the right people at workshops. People doing the work need to see, if in a way, boss might want to see it another way, but only he looks at it sporadically compared to the staff who work continuously with it. Yes. So what he's talking about is, when we say users, we mean the people using it, not the people talking about using it. It's the people who use it. So don't forget that. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. Mark says, notice his address tab doesn't have the field names. Yeah, that's kind of weird. The reason is, Mark, is because this is the composite field. So what he's saying is like, look, there's no field names. Well, that's because it's actually one field. And what they did in the UCI interface is they expanded it out again into each individual component has that. So they don't have any, you just have to understand that that's, 3 lines of address, city, state, postal code, country. So yeah. So kind of weird. Okay. So, but again, this is some of the stuff you can do to do that. And yeah, Mark says yes, definitely not evident to the user. Absolutely not. So I think what you can do, Mark, is you can just put the old fields back in, because they're I mean, all the composite is just a summary of the original address field. So you could all put them back again if you wanted to. I don't think there'd be a problem with that. Oops. Okay. Okay, final thing I want to talk about is I actually have a new course coming up where I take a really, really deep dive into everything that I showed you this week or today. So it opens up on the 1st. Right now it's $100, $97. After that, it's going to be $197. And what we're doing is we're taking all of the topics that we talked about in an hour and stretching it out into several hours, where we kind of go like kind of what I did with this, but really, really deep into why you would do stuff and the things you're going to find, and probably more depth that we talked about there. So sorry, put that back up so you can see it. So basically it's learn.xtermcoaches.com/courses/app design. So if you're interested, got questions, just give me a shout. Q&A. Okay. So questions. Who's got questions? Rob asked if this is just UCI or the web interface. Rob, it's actually both, but again, the web interface is going away. So some of the things you do inside of the form designer are only going to be shown in the UCI. They won't be shown, like the custom controls won't be shown in many cases in the web interface, the classic interface. Is there a function in the sales app that are specific to mobile? To a point, yes. But it really kind of depends on how you're doing things. There's only one application, realistically, and it works both with web and with mobile. So, for instance, if I take this application here, which is web, and I start moving the window, what happens is when I get to a point, it will basically readjust itself, and it kind of sort of turns into mobile. It doesn't really do it anymore like it used to. But the idea here was, yeah, it would actually kind of go to the mobile, but yeah, it's not doing it like it used to. So they made some changes. But yeah, so the mobile navigation is slightly different, but it's still the same stuff. All they're doing is wrapping the user interface with this data. There's not a second application. Okay, so when you design a form, it's going to be on the mobile device and it's going to be on the web. Same thing. Said I get errors if the app contains the default solution on a mobile. Yeah, I think you have to have one of the like Sales Hub. That though. So first off, mobile only shows UCI apps, and unless you flip the switch, your default solution is not that. So that won't work. So you have to have something like Sales Hub or Customer Service Hub. Keith asked, "Do I have a video on Ribbon Workbench?" Yes, I do. It's up on my YouTube channel. It's 2 or 3 years old, but it's still all applicable. Nothing's really changed with Ribbon command bar thing. Outside sales, Sam says, outside sales reps that would like to mobile map their territories, what options you recommend? There is an ISV called Easy Territory. They've got a fairly interesting looking territory management solution, so I would look at them. I don't have any affiliation with them, but I've seen their stuff and it looks pretty cool. Anybody else? Proving as how long the course is. Yeah, it's like less than a day, maybe a little bit over. I haven't finished all the modules yet, but yeah, for sure less than a day. Mary says to miss the beginning. Yes, everything is being recorded and put on my YouTube channel, so it'll be up later today. So yeah, it takes Zoom about 45 minutes to render it because we've been on for an hour, so it'll take about 45 minutes for that, and it takes me about 10 minutes to upload it and stuff. So yeah, it'll be later this afternoon. Anything else? Nope.